Strap into your seats and get ready. It's time for the Mortarpod.
Hey everybody, Alex Stephenson and Jake Faas here. Welcome to this week's episode of the Mortarpod. Mortarpod's brought to you by SeemsGoodMagic.com. Check out my draft videos. We've got T-minus 2 days before the pre-release of Cons of Tarkir is coming online, so that's pretty exciting. I've been doing some cube drafts, and that's actually been a lot of fun. I like the way they have Swiss set up online, where you only need 2 victories. And you basically get a free cube draft. Have you done any of those cube drafts online, Jake?
No, I didn't know Cube was back, actually.
Yeah, it seems like, what do? They do it a couple weeks or maybe even a month, and then they get rid of it for a while. Then they bring it back around another set coming out, and they tend to, swap some of the cards around.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of the key cards added from M15. Painlands. I'm pretty sure there's some Painlands in there. And I'm trying to think. We're going to be getting to those Painlands actually in the set we're looking at today. Interestingly enough. Those are what they brought back in M15.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, all of the Soul guys. All of the Soul cards are in this
like the Soul of Zendikar and stuff like that.
Actually, they're not all in there. Maybe they are, but I haven't seen them all. I've seen the red one. And I've seen the blue one. I know that they're both in the cube, but I haven't seen like any of the other ones. I've seen Primeval Titan, and it's got. So far, I've played like a red aggressive strategy. I've played like a white token strategy. I've done rock as well, and I haven't done worse than 2-1 so far. So I've been pretty happy about that, and I recommend it. Check out Cube, folks at home, if you haven't done it. And definitely recommend Swiss. I mean, it's all Phantom anyway, so I really don't know why people would be motivated to do 8-4. With Swiss, you just have to win a couple matches, and it doesn't matter what order, and you get another completely free Cube draft. So that's the way I do it. Also, check out travelersofstoria.com, website for my board game. I'm in the process of working on my second tutorial video, and I'll have that up eventually. I don't know how much longer it's going to take, but I've got a few minutes of it edited already, and I have to do some more. Without further ado, let's jump into our first section. We got Make a Wish, and this week's a doozy. So we're doing Ghostbusters. Taking a cue from last week where we did Jaws, and Jaws is non-fantasy, and I had some concerns about making a Magic set for it, but it turned out pretty good. This time around, Jake had a pretty big hand in helping me design these Ghostbusters cards. So, Jake, did you? I liked the additions you did. We didn't really have any problems with edits for each other, I don't think. You definitely did some updates, but I didn't have any problem with them, and I think they still fit pretty flavorfully. Don't you?
Yeah, I just like it. Yeah, in general, I think everything turned out better after I got a hold of it. Not to say that I made drastic changes that were necessary, but it's nice to have somebody else take a look at stuff because you definitely were the mastermind behind all of these ideas. I just did little tweaks, I guess, which would be mana costs and sometimes abilities, but mostly mana costs. And
yeah, I know you make some good points about color issues if you have too much of one color, because I just have a tendency to make the good guys most of the time white or red or green, but mostly white. So it's tough because you want to make the legendary creatures better, and I tend to always make them very conservatively. So I like what you added to them though, because I thought they were really good. Why don't we just take a look? Let's jump into it. I put them in sort of chronological order of. I like putting it in chronological order of how like the movie plays out. So
Hmm.
uh, it really starts with like Peter Venkman, Ray Stantz, and Egon Spangler um, investigating this library that people have said they saw a ghost or something down there. So let's go through those three first. Peter Venkman is 1 and 2 red for a 2/3 legendary human creature. He has a mechanic called Resourceful. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice a land. If you do, search your library for up to 3 basic land cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your library. So it's kind of like a land tax, except instead of judging it based on your opponent's land total, you're doing it just based on you can just sack a land. And then he
Hmm.
also has a tap ability, which is tap target land an opponent controls and untap target land you control. And then the flavor text I put on him is you're not going to lose the house. Everybody has 3 mortgages nowadays. Do you actually remember that part in the movie, Jake?
I don't, I guess, truth be told, but
That's
it
okay.
totally sounds like a line from him.
Yeah. He the reason I gave him these mechanics is it was kind of tough to know what I wanted to do exactly for Peter Venkman because I mean he's such an iconic star of that movie with all pretty much essentially all of the comic relief really comes from him.
Hmm.
But what he does in the beginning is he actually mortgages Ray's mom's house, and they get this like terrible interest rate on it too. But what's funny about Peter Venkman is he's got the charisma, and that's kind of what I had in mind with his ability.
Yeah.
Because of his charisma, he can sort of manipulate people. He's also like the bargainer when they catch Slimer at the hotel. He's the one that's like, "Oh, you're not going to pay us this amount? Well, we can just let the ghost, right back inside."
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. No, no, I remember that part. Yeah, I think that this worked out well for him. It's nice to see, like you had said about like just making the good guys white characters. It's nice to see good guys that are in colors that are not necessarily thought of as good, but like there are good qualities to each color. It's just how they're brought out. Like you were saying, he's charismatic and stuff, but he also is, he has loyalties to some people, I should say, and things like that. So I don't know. I think that this card is cool because it shows the kind of pseudo duplicitous nature to him.
hmm He doesn't. Red typically doesn't get untapping lands, so that's kind of an unusual thing, breaking
Well,
color pie
you can
slightly.
have it. It's not necessarily breaking it. It's more of a stretch into that like very, when you play, let's say, a desperate ritual or whatever that gets you 1 mana for that turn.
hmm
It's kind of that, you know, and I think that's the way that I would look at it.
Okay.
You're just getting an extra mana in a way that's similar to green, but also it's something red has the ability to do. It just doesn't do it that often.
That's true. Like
But
Koth does it. Is that right? A little bit.
he does. He creates a 4/4 for you as well, but you know he does untap that land as well.
So you could tap it and then untap it and get an extra resource essentially too. So all right, I guess that works then for me.
And he's a mythic, so I think it's all
It's
around fun.
okay for him to have a unique ability. What do you think of resourceful? You think that could work as a
I think
mechanic?
that's I think that's good. I don't necessarily agree with it on a mono red creature. The fact that he is mythic makes it okay, but I
hmm
think that you were right to have him be red and white initially with that ability. I just liked him. I think that his character aligns more with mono red, a little bit more passionate about stuff, going with his gut feeling and stuff rather than being by the book, which is more of like what white is aligned with,
hmm
is like the rules of stuff like that. Hold on, Julie.
Um,
Sorry.
oh, that's all right. Moving on. Let's jump to Ray here. Ray Stantz, he's 2/2 blue. He's a 2/2 legendary human creature. And then he has a mechanic called Techie. And Techie is artifacts you control have tap to add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool. And then Ray Stance, when he enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life and you draw 1 card for each spirit creature card in all graveyards. And then each player shuffles his or her graveyard into his or her library. Do you remember in Ghostbusters 2, Ray Stance owning Ray's Occult Books?
Not really.
He had a bookstore in the second movie, and both him and Egon in the first movie reference this fake book called Tobin's Spirit Guide. So what I had in mind when I designed Ray was his knowledge of spirits from the past that would be in the graveyards is kind of what you're drawing the cards and gaining the life from. So that's kind of what I had in mind with that enter the battlefield effect. It is a bit narrow, but it does let you shuffle each player's graveyard into the library, which is a pretty powerful effect too, I think.
Yeah. The gain life thing is out of Blue's realm totally, but I still feel like making him mono blue is the right choice.
I looked it up actually because I had a concern about that. There's a couple very old blue cards that gain life, but
yeah,
nowadays it's out of the color pie, like trade ships or merchant ship, trade ship, one of them.
And Relic Bind, and to a lesser extent, cards like Psychic Transfer, which let you exchange your life total with your opponent. You know, stuff like that.
Illusions of Grandeur, Delusions of Mediocrity technically had some life gain in blue.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not unheard of, but it usually comes with a different type of stipulation. Regardless, I think Ray's fine. I thought Techie is a reasonable mechanic too. I don't think it's broken or anything, but it's nice that you would get some additional value from your artifacts, and it kind of flavorfully makes sense with them since they have all their little toys that they play with, you know?
Yeah, they have tons of little gadgets. I do think that like it might be a little, I mean, late in the game when you get Techie online, turn 3 with Egon and turn 4 with Ray.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, and the fact that it doesn't double up in any way or anything like that, just, I feel like there could have been a little more tweaking to it, but I like the general idea of it. So that's why I didn't really, like mess around with it anymore when you first sent me the file, was because I think that it gets the point across well. But I think after like playtest and stuff like that, it would definitely get changed to something else. I just don't know what.
Yeah, some additional effect so that it had some sort of stacking effect. But then again, Resourceful doesn't exactly have a stacking effect. I mean, it kind of does. It would let you sacrifice multiple lands in a turn, but they're not like traditional mechanics that tend to, I guess, when I think of traditional mechanics, I think they tend to like, you could have multiples of it out and it would be synergistic in some way. And like you said, Techie and maybe Resourceful don't necessarily feel like that, but they fit what like I had in mind for the character. It's probably one of those things where they didn't have to be a mechanic.
Yeah, well, or alternatively, like Techie could be like this creature or this permanent taps for X colorless mana, or tap add X to your mana pool, where X is the number of artifacts you control. Something like
that'd be cool too.
Might be a little more appropriate, but I think that this is fine for the time being and stuff.
Okay. Finally, part of the original trio of Ghostbusters, we have Egon Spangler. He's 2 and a blue for a 1/2 human artificer legendary creature. He also has Techie, and he has tap, draw a card, activate this ability only if a player controls a spirit creature. And then his flavor text is, I'd like to get a sample of your brain tissue, which is what he says to Louis Tully at the end of the movie after Louis turns back from Vince Clortho back to Louis Tully. And it's
I was wondering when he said that. I thought that he said it to, what is Sigourney Weaver's name?
Dana Barrett.
Yeah, I thought he said it to her during like an initial test or something like
Oh yeah, well, I could see that. No, he says it to Lewis at the end because I think the only way to get a sample of anybody's brain tissue is if you can't get that unless they're dead. You can't like
Yeah.
take brain tissues. That's why it was such a funny line.
Hmm.
But his ability, draw a card, activate this ability only if a player controls a spirit creature. Maybe he seems a bit pricey since you could only use the ability if a player controls a spirit creature, but flavorfully, Egon had that PKE meter, and that's kind of what I had in mind with this mechanic, where it was he was very good at reading where he could like identify energy source information and stuff like that
Yeah.
based on his PKE meter. So I thought that would be like knowledge, like drawing you cards for that.
I think that maybe draw two, discard one with the only a spirit, only if you can somebody controls a spirit creature clause would have been maybe a little more appropriate now that we're looking at it again.
Yeah,
And then it
just
would
to
have
up the
comboed,
power of it a little bit or something like
yeah, it
that.
would have comboed better with Ray Stance too. Um,
Oh yeah, that's true.
just to
Then you could have gotten
discard
rid of
spirits and
yeah,
get some benefit from that.
that's a good point. Um, so that's the original trio. Next we have Janine Melnitz. She is gonna seem very similar to another card because she is. She's 1 white for a 1/1 legendary human creature. She has at the beginning of your upkeep sacrifice her unless you pay one, and then she has tap. Target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. And then flavor text. I read a lot. Some people think I'm too intellectual, but I think it's a fabulous way to spend your spare time. That's she's talking to Egon and early on, but she's exactly like Mother of Runes. The only difference is I feel like this is an actual fair Mother of Runes.
Yeah.
Uh, Flavorfully, uh, you're paying the one. It's sort of like her salary because she's the receptionist, and then the target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice is supposed to be like her doing her job. So instead of any of your guys directly speaking to any customers coming in, she's the one dealing with them, so she's protecting those creatures from that color.
Mm.
Perhaps a bit of a stretch, but I thought the upkeep cost was probably my favorite part about this.
Yeah, I think I really do like it. I think maybe she could have been a 0-2 or something like that. But overall, I'm really satisfied with her. And I think this is one that I didn't really adjust at all when you sent the file.
Yeah, it's
So,
true. I mean, it's Mother of Runes. It could be a fair Mother of Runes. This is something that seems reasonable. Legendary,
legendary
rare,
helps.
upkeep cost.
It's a lot of things just keeping it in check, which Mother of Runes
Did
definitely is.
not have, yeah.
Yeah.
Also in cube, this cube, by the way. All right, so next we have a proton pack. So chronologically, I'll kind of play it out. You got the three in the beginning. They decide to start the business. They hire Janine. Next, they get their first job at the hotel. So next card is proton pack, which is obviously what the Ghostbusters wield. This is a 2 mana equipment card, and it equips for 3, and it gives equipped creature tap, deal 1 damage to target creature. If that creature is a spirit creature, tap it. And then the flavor text is, why worry? Each of us is wearing an unlicensed nuclear accelerator on his back. And that's when they first flip the proton packs on. So this flavorfully, I thought paid off pretty well. I figured the bolts of electricity coming out of it probably could deal damage to people on its own. And then tapping the spirit creatures is actually flavorfully almost perfect to what it was in the movie. Because if you remember, when they shoot them with the beams, it sort of wraps around the
Yeah,
ghost.
and it really only like subdues them in a way, you
Hmm.
know.
It can't destroy them. So the proton pack, you'll see in a little bit what that combos up with. Next, we have Slimer, and Jake had a big part in upgrading this. I really like what you did for this one. I think this one kind of needed some work. So originally I had it mono green just because it looked like a cool. It just had a cooler like border look, but I don't have any problems with the blue green look. So it's two a green and a blue for a 4/4 flying legendary spirit ooze creature. It has a mechanic called Sludge. Whenever a creature blocks or becomes blocked by this creature, tap that creature. It doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. And then if Slimer would deal combat damage to a creature, prevent that damage. I think I originally had it mono green and like maybe a 2/4 flyer with Sludge. So I really do like your addition because then it doesn't kill creatures, but it can still be a pretty quick clock
Hmm.
on a player. which is
Yeah, and I
good.
wanted to like make the flying actually relevant because he does fly, and it just seemed odd on a mono green creature. So,
That's true.
but I think that I really was also happy with the way this turned out because it is like he can just kind of be permanently stopped as long as they have two flyers because he'll just keep tapping them down. Um, but yeah, I do like it. I think this would actually be a card that they could totally print too.
Yeah, it feels legendary too. It's kind of interesting and strange, but yet powerful in a
Mhm.
certain way as well. Um, okay, next page, we've got the Ghost Trap. So the Ghost Trap purposely sort of synergizes with the Proton Pack, and the Ghost Trap is a 2 mana artifact. You pay 3 and tap it. Target tapped creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. If that creature is a spirit creature, exile it instead. And then the flavor text is 2 in the box, ready to go. We be fast and they be slow. And that's kind of a cheesy little thing they did when they caught Slimer,
Yeah.
which I liked.
Mhm.
But so it's kind of like a Barrel's Cage style of effect a little bit, but bonus for exiling spirits.
Yeah, I really like this one too, actually. I think this one's cool.
Yeah,
It is
they could
very
print that.
evocative of what they were going, or what it does in the movie too.
Yeah, it
It is
actually
a li-
blinds people. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, no, I didn't. Did they overload it to blind people or what?
I think it's one of those things where Ray just tells Egon not to look into it. And then
Oh,
Egon, of course, goes, I looked into the box, right? It didn't like hurt him or anything. I think it's just really bright. So
nice.
that was kind of the justification for why it can make any tapped creature not untap. It can blind anybody, but if it's a spirit, it exiles it because you're, containing it.
Yeah. This
Um,
is really cool too.
hmm
I remember playing with like the Ghostbuster toys as a kid.
Oh yeah, me
They
too.
were
They
really,
were cool. I had a proton pack.
yeah, my neighbor definitely had both the proton pack and the ghost trap. So,
I had this little toy that like almost was like a flashlight image of a spirit that it would put on your wall.
hmm
So you could like proton pack and ghost. You couldn't like do anything with it, but you could look at this light on your wall that looked like a ghost, sort of like
Yeah.
you were touching it. It was ridiculous, but
Right.
that was Ghostbusters toys for you. Next, we have Winston Zeddemore. So I don't know if you remember, but Winston joins them sort of late when the Ghostbusters business starts picking up. And I modded him a little bit from your mod, but not that much. He's a 2 white for a 2/1 vigilance human creature, and then he has tap. Target attacking or blocking creature gets +2/+1 until end of turn. And then his flavor text is if somebody asks you if you're a god, you say yes. That's a good reference to the end of the movie with a conversation with Gozer. Um, so White does sort of get this ability where they can give attackers or blockers bonuses. Winston's background was kind of tough for me because he doesn't do all that much in Ghostbusters 1. He's just super support. And then in Ghostbusters 2, he saves Ray and Egon from a burning building. Um, but overall, I think Winston's pretty good. I mean, I think this would still be a constructed playable card, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. A 4/2 attacker is pretty strong.
Yeah, on turn 3, attacking for 4 with vigilance, and the fact that he can just combo trick at any point. So the reason that it's uh, +2/+1 instead of the +2/+2 that you originally had, I wanted it to be more like it's him jumping
Yeah.
into it, like he's giving it his all once again.
hmm
Um,
I, I think maybe in the end it would have been better to do +1/+2 to
just because
do,
it's a little more white.
and then it would go, yeah, he would become a 3/3 instead of becoming a 4/2, which is also a little more white to be defensive, I guess.
Yeah, for
But
the most part. I mean, there's some pretty offensive ones too,
yeah,
like
there
the
are three
3/1
ones
with
too.
Battle
Yeah.
Cry or whatever.
So it's not unheard of. It just, I think aesthetically, I kind of like the way that that would have looked more.
I could
But
see that.
overall, I mean, I still think it's a great card.
hmm Next, we have Dana Barrett, and I'd say you pretty much designed the bulk of this one. I originally had something that was different, but I kind of like how these. I actually do like how these turned out. So Dana Barrett's 2 white for a 1/3 legendary human that has red creature spells you cast cost 1 and a red less to cast. And then she's just pairing with Zool the Gatekeeper, the next card, who is 2 and 2 red 3/3 legendary demon hound creature with haste. And then it has tap, exile Zool the Gatekeeper, and a creature you control named Vince Clortho the Keymaster. Search your library for a card named Gozer the Destructor and put it onto the battlefield under your control. And then Dana is basically part of a cycle with Lewis Tully, who's 2 white for a 0/4 legendary human who makes black creature spells you cast cost 1 and a black less. And then he is sort of paired with Vince Clortho, the Keymaster, who's 2 and 2 black for a 3/3 Intimidate legendary Demon Hound. And then, like Zool the Gatekeeper, you tap, exile it, and Zool the Gatekeeper, and you get Gozer the Destructor. So these sort of all, tie into the storyline pretty strongly. I think you designed the mechanics that are the sort of static ability that's on Dana and Lewis, and I think it's pretty acceptable. It is a very powerful effect, as you realize, right?
Yeah. I mean, you do not get to like reduce the cost of like colorless beyond, like when it has a colored mana symbol in it, it only means the colored mana symbol, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So it could have been something else, like red creatures you cast cost double red less to cast or something like that. And then if they had any colorless mana in them, you'd still end up having to pay that. But I think overall this is fine. My original intention actually was to have the Demon Hounds both be gold still, or I guess you had had them both originally black. I was trying to move them into like red, black, gold, and then I just kind of realized that I didn't really like the way they looked. They looked too similar.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So this was like the solution I'd come up with, I guess, is just to completely separate their colors, but make it so that you had to play this. Well, you could play 2-color and still get both those guys, but you'd have to play like 3-color to actually get, the full benefit of both Lewis Tully and Dana Barrett
Mm-hmm.
with both of them. But
It's true. There's a lot going on, but it all ties into the story pretty nicely, and
and
overall I'm very happy with how those turned out.
it does bring the cost of Gozer down, actually, for both of them. So that's something everyone will see in a moment, I guess. But
So finally, on this page, we have Evo Shandor building. I really love the backstory conversation on Evo Shandor, which Ray and Egon do in prison, or in jail, I should say, not prison, briefly. So the Evo Shandor building is a legendary land. Spirit creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, and then it has tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, but you can spend this mana only to cast spirit creature spells. So I kind of took a cue from Eye of Ugin. That's how I got the spirit creature spells, reduction cost.
Mhm.
And then adding 1 mana of any your color, I thought that would just be really cool if all your spirits were cheaper, and then you could play any color of the spirits. The building itself is supposedly supposed to have some pretty mystical, magical properties to it. So I thought that was cool. How that all tied in together. The flavor text on Evo Shandor building: after the First World War, Shandor decided that society was too sick to survive. He conducted rituals up on the roof, bizarre rituals intended to bring about the end of the world. So I really like that that whole character they made, even though it's a brief backstory. I don't know if you know this, but in the video game they made recently, they really they bring Evo Shandor into it. I believe he's the main villain, and they bring a lot of those references into the game. So I'd really love to play that sometime. I hope I do.
Yeah, actually, I looked at the Wikipedia while I was after you first sent the file on Ghostbusters, just to get an idea of everything. So yeah, I had read that. It was pretty comprehensive. They had a lot of good information on it. So
yeah, there are some major Ghostbusters nerds. Moving on, we've got the last 3 cards here. So we have Gozer the Destructor, awesome villain in the movie. She costs 4, 2 black and 2 red, as Jake intentionally made it. Vince Clortho and Zul the Gatekeeper, their combined mana cost equals Gozer, which kind of makes sense because you're exiling them both. So I like that tie-in. You also changed Gozer's creature type to God, which I think that's acceptable. She was definitely worshipped as a god by the cult of Gozer, so I think
Yeah,
that is
and they
acceptable.
describe her in the wiki as a demigod, so I figured it was safe.
I mean, she doesn't have devotion, which bugged me at first, but I think it's okay. There can be gods that don't have the devotion mechanic. I think
Yeah.
that's all right.
We're also off Theros, so, a god on a different plane,
Doesn't
which in this
necessarily
place
have
would
to
be Earth.
be related to that. It's fine.
Yeah.
So she's it actually is it does not have a gender, is indestructible, even though it was played by a woman in the movie. Um, it's a 6/6 indestructible, and at the beginning of your upkeep, target opponent searches your library for a creature card of his or her choice. Put that creature onto the battlefield under your control, then shuffle your library. It gains indestructible and haste. Exile it at the beginning of the next end step. If it would leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. You added that. You had to add that last text, so there was no shenanigans involved. But essentially, the flavor of the card is um, you choose the destructor. That was kind of how it went in the movie. Gozer lets you choose how she's going to destroy you. So I thought that was kind of that's why it fit with the mechanic. I had something different. I had her being exiled and the creature coming in, and then when that creature dies, she comes back in. But I think you're right. It was just overly complicated. So I like your simplified form a lot better. And she's very powerful. I think she's a very powerful card. Don't you?
Oh, yeah, yeah, totally. I think that, like you had said, it worked flavorfully what you were going for with exiling her, because in that scene, I think she disappears completely, and they can just hear like her disembodied voice still. But and that's like the scene with the Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man.
Yeah.
Um, but in reality, it's just like, what's the point of making her exile? Like some things are. It's really cool to get the flavor across, but I still think that this gets that flavor across without having to be too complicated.
Yeah, I agree
I
completely.
mean,
So,
another solution could have been to have that ability trigger, but you choose to exile her, and if you do, it's permanently exiled, and then you go and get a creature you want out of your library, something like that.
yeah, that would have worked too.
Or like,
I just really love the idea of an opponent searching your library for a creature card because it's
yeah,
such an unheard of thing.
but you could search your opponent's library, and then it would be like, like your opponent knows what you're gonna go get, so it's the first thing on their mind, which was the thing with, you know, what Ray did,
Yeah, that's a
whatever.
good point. No, you're right because he just had to think of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and it immediately was chosen. That's a good point. It could have been their library and you got to choose,
Mhm.
essentially. Many ways to do it, but overall, I thought super powerful card, very good.
Yeah.
Next, we have Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. So this is an 8 mana colorless creature, legendary avatar creature, and it's a 10/10 trampler for 8, so super efficient. Flavor text is I tried to think of the most harmless thing, something I loved from my childhood, something that could never ever possibly destroy us, Mr. Stay Puft. But little did Ray know, Stay Puft is a very dangerous creature.
Especially in that giant form.
Yes. So 8 mana 10/10, that's colorless. Definitely fairly unprecedented. I mean, you've got the once again Eldrazi that are colorless, but I think in this case there's no real colors that you know can really justify what Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, did you say that you like what you had originally had it as?
I had it originally as black white, and the black was because it was evil, and the white was because it was a marshmallow. That was it.
Yeah.
So it was just too silly, I guess, to really.
Yeah. I like the idea of putting color to it, but it's kind of like you said, it really doesn't represent any color truly. The evil aspect can also be just related to, I mean, force of nature, more or less. Like, it's just a giant thing that will destroy stuff because it's there in the way.
Hmm.
I know that it also had the intent of destroying things too. Um, and whether that was just Gozer's will applied to it, I guess, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it could have been anything really. But I think overall, colorless is probably the right way to go with it.
I agree, and I think it's still probably powerful enough that well, it absolutely see limited play, but I don't know. It's not 10-10 trampler for 8. It's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, it probably, honestly, as a rare, it probably could have been better in some way, like an upon death clause, because doesn't it like don't when they shoot it or how do they kill it?
They cross the streams, which
Yeah, they.
is a nice segue into the next card.
You're right.
I can just quickly do it. Cross the streams, the last card in the set is 2 a red and 2 white for a sorcery. Exile all creatures. And then I have to read the flavor text on this one. Imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light. And then, not on there, but Ray says, total protonic reversal. And then Vankman says something like, all right, that's bad. All right, important safety tip from Egon. So, crossing the streams immediately means they're all crossing their proton pack little laser beams together. And it's supposedly super dangerous because it's supposed to make every molecule in your body explode. But then Egon amends the statement at the end of the movie by saying there's a very unlikely small chance that we will survive. So they decide to take it, and what do you know? The good guys survive, amazingly. But to answer your question, when they cross the streams, it not only destroys Gozer, but it also destroys the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. All right, we spent a lot of time on that. I couldn't help myself. We put a lot of work into that. So let's move into cyclical evolution. This week we got Apocalypse, finishing off Invasion block. So let's jump right into it. Immediately we have Aether Mutation and Death Mutation. We've got Aether Mutation, which is 3 a green and a blue sorcery. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Put X 1/1 green sapperling creature tokens into play, where X is the converted mana cost of that creature. And then Death Mutation, which is 6 a black and a green sorcery. Destroy a non-black creature. It can't be regenerated. And then you get that many sapperlings where it's converted mana cost. So pretty clear cycle. Both of these cards were super powerful, don't you think, Jake?
Oh yeah. Um, I I always had a like soft spot for Aether Mutation, even though I know it's kind of not as like appealing as Death Mutation right off the bat. But the fact that it's 5 mana helps it out quite a bit compared to Death Mutation. Um, and in this block in particular, there were a lot of expensive creatures that shouldn't have been expensive. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there were like 5-drop 3/3s with kind of lackluster abilities and stuff like that. So there was a potential to really blow out your opponent by getting more power than what you were getting rid of, you know,
Yeah.
where they really wouldn't be able to stop a big horde. And then there were other cards that could give, +1/+1 boost to all your creatures. I think it's, I forget what it is. Strength of Night actually is what I think it is called from Apocalypse.
Yeah.
That was a 3 mana green instant that gave all your creatures +1/+1, and you could kick it for like either
black
just
or
black
something,
or,
right?
huh?
You could kick it for like a black mana or something
Yeah,
like
I
that.
think it was just 1 black, and then all your zombies additionally got +1/+1.
That's right. I do remember that. Yeah,
Yeah,
Aether Mutation. I might even go as far to say Aether's better than Death, only
yeah.
because Death is so expensive.
I think the 8 mana is actually quite a like at 8 mana that should have probably been an instant. Like, I know that's really brutal, but 8 mana is a lot. But I don't know. The fact that these checked mana cost was really what made them very good. Because if they were checking power, it would have been, or toughness, it would have been a totally different story. There were a lot of really weak, expensive creatures in this block.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, I love the Aether Mutation too. This is a cool cycle. That was
Yeah.
a good idea. I wouldn't
And
mind
this is
them
kind of a,
bringing it
a
back.
pull off of Artifact and Aura Mutation, which were both 2 mana instants from Invasion block that,
Oh, okay. Oh,
that
I
uh,
see. It's like
destroyed Artifact and Enchantment.
okay. It's like continuation a little bit because those
Yeah.
spit out the sapperlings too.
Yeah, but I think this could have been interesting in a different way. They could have actually done this as a rare cycle, reduce the cost on Death Mutation a little bit maybe go down to 5, a black and a red, or a black and a green, and go to like instant, make it an instant, and make it rare.
Yeah, they could have
And then
done that.
with Aether Mutation, they could have done kind of the same thing, gone down by, well, maybe they could have just left it and made it an instant. Both of these would have been very, even at their like current mana cost, they would have been very fair rares, you know.
They would have been brutal combat tricks, but
Mhm.
they, I mean, Aether Mutation's bonkers uncommon. I remember
Yeah,
playing that and just I remember just winning the game from Aether Mutation.
yeah.
It's like,
Aether
oh
Mutation is
yeah,
is a very, very sick card. It's
huge
like,
setback.
yeah, like once you put out more creatures than you're getting rid of, and they now have a horde to deal with instead of just like one creature or whatever. This card is amazing. This
Yeah, it
card is,
really was.
it really should get reprinted at some point because this card is great.
Um, all right, next we have the Disciples. This is a cool cycle. So there's one for each color. Each of them have some mechanics, and like before, previously in the set, what were the name of the previous cycles that were very similar to this?
It's the school of magic called, like, they're the scapes. So it's Nightscape, Thunderscape, Thornscape, Sunscape, and Stormscape.
Okay, and these are disciples, and they come from their different little tribes. So you have the Raka disciple, who's red, the Necro disciple, who's black, the Dega disciple, who's white, the Seta disciple, who's blue, and then the Anna disciple, which is green. So the 5 different mechanics that they all potentially can have is the white one, which is prevent the next one damage to a creature or player, the blue one, which gives a creature flying, the black one, which gives a creature -2, -0 until end of turn, the red one, which gives a creature +2/+0 until end of turn, and then the green one, which is add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Unfortunately, the green one kind of unexciting because you actually have to pay a mana, so it doesn't ramp.
Yeah. The green one, for that reason, truly could have been add 2 mana in any combination of colors to your mana pool,
That'd be
and
cool.
would have been. I mean,
Or
the
even 2
fact,
mana of 1 color. I would have been okay
yeah,
with that.
that would have been fair too. The fact that you have to already be in 2 colors to get that ability, and then you have to have your opposite color of the card that you played, you know.
No, that's a good point. It's
I
like,
just think
wait,
that it's
it's
already very difficult to get there. So having it just convert green, which means that you have to like have an abundance of green, you know,
mm-hmm.
because you can't cast a green gold card with just 1 green if you're off color on the gold part, you know.
I think I
So,
like the Dega Disciple the most,
oh
just
yeah, I
because.
think that one is hands down the best of this cycle because it affects combat so much.
Mm-hmm.
And possibly also Anna, because that has a big effect on combat too. Um, but yeah, just having either one, the -2/-0 or the +2/+0 ability on your creature was really good. So
Yeah,
having it
I
on
bet.
both,
Definitely. So this is a cool cycle. It's got your little enemy color shards. So,
yeah,
I mean, this is something that we could theoretically see in, I mean, not with these names because they're related to this plane, but some idea similar to this.
yeah. Necra's really disappointing. I will say that.
Yeah, adding a mana to your mana pool or preventing 1 damage, and it's black. You just expect removal when you see black, but these
Yeah,
all seem a little bit dialed back to me. They don't seem particularly strong considering enemy colors are involved. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah. No, you're right. I do think that the green one should have had a ramp aspect to it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been out of line in either one of those colors either to have it in as a blue creature or a black creature. Blue typically only does it on artifacts, and black does it usually at the cost of life too. But the fact that this was like the wedge block or wedge set is just like, you know, they should have made these a little cooler. Like Daga's where it's at, and if they would have just changed the white, blue, and tweaked the green ability, I think they would have been on to something.
Yeah, I agree. I think it had some issues for sure. Next, we have the Sanctuary cycle. This is kind of a cool cycle. Um, they're each enchantments. They each cost 3 mana. There's one for each color. So the Dega Sanctuary lets you, at the beginning of your upkeep, If you control a black or red permanent, gain 2. If you control both, you gain 4. The blue one is if you control a red or green permanent, you get to draw, then discard. If you control both, you get to draw 2, discard 1. Necro Sanctuary lets you make a player lose a life if you control a green or white, and if you control both, they lose 3 life. And then you have Raka Sanctuary. If you control a white or blue permanent, deals 1 damage to a creature. If you control both, 3 to that creature. And then finally, Ana Sanctuary. If you control a blue or black permanent, you give a creature +1/+1 until end of turn. Control both, you get +5/+5. So this pretty, I would say, pretty big upsides to controlling all 3 permanents. It's kind of cool that all the sanctuaries work well together.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I think that is really cool. Like, all you have to do is get them all out, and then you get like a really big turn every turn.
Yeah, you do. What would it be? It'd be gain 4, opponent loses
Target
3, 3 to
yeah,
a creature, pump a creature, and draw 2, discard 1.
combat creature by 5 and lightning bolt another creature is pretty sick.
Yeah. So these were cool. I think these were played and limited quite a bit too. I feel like those shards were popular enough where you could get these online. Even getting
Yeah.
one side of it seems okay, don't you think?
Yeah, I think Raka and Seta probably the most have benefit in limited just for getting half of it.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, Anna to an extent, but with pump effect, like the +5/+5 is huge. So I'll take that during my upkeep for sure, every upkeep.
Mm-hmm.
But the +1/+1 is a little less relevant, and that kind of effect is more relevant in combat, like when you're already in combat, you know.
That's true. You want to pick and choose it at a ideal time. You don't want to do it at the beginning of your upkeep. That's a good point.
And to give your opponent like the chance to see where you're going with it right away, you know. So any other plan is also like off the table because you had to reveal what you were going to be sinking your resources into getting through this time.
Mm-hmm. Overall, I'm happy with these sanctuary cards. Though. I think they're cool. I like them. Moving on, we've got the Volvers. So this is one of each color. Once again, we've got all the different little tribes of this plane. So we have Degavolver, Setavolver, Necrovolver, Rakavolver, and Anavolver, or Anavolver. They all have kicker of multiple colors. Degavolver, if you pay a black kicker, it gets 2 +1/+1 counters and regen for 3 life. And if you pay the red kicker, it gets another +1/+1 counter and first strike. This is an awesome cycle. It's really cool.
Yeah, it is.
Setavolver is blue, and it has a red kicker that gives it 2 +1/+1 counters and first strike, and a green kicker that gives it a +1/+1 counter and trample. Then you have Necrovolver, the black one with a green kicker, 2 +1/+1 counters and trample, white kicker, +1/+1, and whenever it deals damage, you gain that much life. So not lifelink. And then Rakavolver is the red one with a white kicker, +2 or 2 +1/+1 counters, and when it deals damage, you gain that much life. And then a blue kicker, +1/+1 counter and flying. And then finally Anavolver with the blue kicker, so 2 counters and flying, and then the black one, which is 1 counter and regenerate for 3 life. These are all great. Do you have like a personal preference?
I think in the end, Anavolver was always my favorite because it was the fairest as far as what it came out with if you didn't kick it at all versus what it came out with if you kicked it with either effect, you know. Like a 6 mana 5/5 flying in green is pretty good, and the same can be said about a green black 4/4 regen, you know.
Yeah.
For 5. Like, they're both really good modes, and if you can get them together, then it's even better, you know. And it is the strongest of the cycle. I guess that one always appealed to me. It's funny though that they didn't feel they could push these a little further, like with their original or their base power toughness. Maybe make them double blue, double white, you know, and make them 2/2s.
Yeah, make them more color intensive.
Yeah, and the same with Necrovolver and Rakavolver, like make them double black, double red, and Anavolver can even be double green, and just make it so that it's a little more color intensive, but give us a better power toughness base.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. These cards don't even play if you can't kick them. They're just pretty worthless.
hmm
Um,
So
and
they're all essentially gold cards. It just depends on how gold they are for you.
that's true. It really is almost deceptive that they look monocolor, but they're
hmm
just basically worthless as monocolor. Besides on Evolver.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Which is kind of the appeal of it, I guess.
mhm.
It doesn't look like a bad creature on the surface.
I like them all though. Very good cards. Very cool. I like all of how the abilities play. Um, Even the idea of how they made the regenerate work with black. Do you think why did they make it pay 3 life instead of paying like a black or something?
I think because there were effects where you just sack them to get the mana,
I
like the
see.
Salter Vent cycle, from Invasion
So it
itself.
didn't want to expect you to have actual like black resources, more of just maybe something that sacked and gave you black resources or
Well,
one-time
yeah, I mean,
effects.
it was really easy to just have an effect. The fixing was so great in this set or this block that it was really easy to find an effect that just gave you mana once at least.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is that I don't know. I think that mana would have made it actually better, you know? Like it
Oh,
would
I
have
see.
a lot stronger if it were mana.
That's true.
But
It
life
dials
for
it back.
no mana is really, really good too.
Yeah, that's true. So I mean, you can do it multiple times in a turn if they have multiple kill spells. Um, cool cycle overall. Interesting pictures too. Very strange looking. Um,
I think, like to note about that too. I think Anna Volver is the coolest looking one.
I could agree with that. They all look. I'm trying to think what other ones I like. Necrovolver looks kind of cool. I like it. It's kind of a
Yeah,
freaky
you like
looking.
zombies though.
And they're still Volver creature types. They must have altered them,
No, they
right?
are Volvers, I think. The funny thing is that they're all like kind of trying to get aspects of like each color that they represent.
Yeah.
Um, but I think Set Evolver does it in the most like fluid way. It's got a merfolk with horns and elf ears. So it just to me it looks like a merfolk minotaur elf mashup.
That's cool. No, that's a good point. And it gets first strike and trample, which is
hmm
a
A
ridiculous
really
ability
cool
mashup
combination.
anyway.
A 4/4 first strike trample for 5 mana. That's pretty good.
Yeah, very efficient. Moving on, we have the cycle which I mentioned earlier. This is an M15, so we've got Caves of Koilos, black-white, Battlefield Forge, red-white, Llanowar Wastes, black-green, Yavimaya green-blue, and Shivan Reef, blue-red. Not too much to say about the Painlands. I think we both kind of expressed during M15 spoilers that we were surprised since they directly said new players didn't really know how to deal with lands that dealt damage to them, which is why they made the what are those lands called?
The
From
Buddy Lands, I
Buddy
guess is
lands. Yeah, I think that sounds right. But they returned to Painlands, so I guess Buddy lands had run their course. They'd been around for a long time, so they're like, all right, I guess it's time to go back to Painlands. I've always been a fan. I think they,
Yeah, I mean they had taken them out for 1 year too.
yeah, that's true. What did they do for that set?
Didn't they just do Reflecting Pool only in Mutavault or
Oh
something?
wow. Well, they must have been Vivid lands or something. I don't know.
It wasn't it last set? M14?
Oh, for the fixing? They just had a reflecting pool, is that right?
I think so, right?
Wow.
Wait, no, they didn't do Reflecting Pool that recently.
I'm trying to think what the fixing was for M14. If it wasn't Buddy Lands, and it certainly wasn't Pain Lands.
Well, I mean, Shocklands were around and the temples were around, so I
So I
thought
guess
that they
Shimmering
got.
Grotto is all they did for the.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is Shimmering Grotto, not
Ugh,
Reflecting Pool.
disgusting.
And they made it an uncommon, I think, too.
Oh, gee. Well, don't want to see too many of them.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. Anyway,
Regardless, this. I'm fine with Pain Lands. It's good to see a return to them. And here is their. Is this the first time they were printed?
yeah, this is their very first printing.
Cool. All right. Is this the so this is the first conceptual Painland idea. Is that right?
No, the Painlands have been around since Ice Age. This is the first enemy Painland, though.
Ah, okay, very cool.
I should say, done in the traditional untapped, comes into play untapped Painland sense.
Oh, I see. They've had maybe something that came in
Yeah,
tapped and
like
did it, or
the Tempest duel or enemy duels came into play tapped, and they pained you for the colored mana.
jeez, harsh.
Yeah.
Next we have the Bloodfire cycle. This is Bloodfire Colossus, Bloodfire Kavu, Bloodfire Infusion, and Bloodfire Dwarf. All of them are red. The Dwarf is a 1-drop 1/1, and you can pay a red and sack it. Deal 1 damage to each creature without flying. I think we're going to see a trend here. Bloodfire Infusion's an aura for 3, and you can enchant only a creature you control, which makes sense, because you wouldn't be able to sacrifice an opponent's creature.
Mm-hmm.
1 red, sacrifice enchanted creature, and it deals damage equal to the enchanted creature's power to each creature. And then you have Bloodfire Kavu, which is a 4-mana 2/2, pay a red, deals 2 damage to each creature. So not restrictive, like the Bloodfire Dwarf. And then finally you have Bloodfire Colossus, which is an 8-mana 6/6 giant. And you can pay a red and deals 6 damage to each creature and each player. So slightly different abilities, but all conceptually the same, sacking them to deal damage to creatures or players in the case of the rare. What do you think of this cycle?
I think this is a really awesome cycle. Bloodfire Dwarf is really powerful in this limited environment too,
Yeah, I
with
believe it.
like disciples and was it apprentices from Invasion?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. So
and
you're right, and it only deals it to without flying, so they were particular about that.
mhm.
I really like the Bloodfire Kavu. I feel like he's really good too.
Yeah, Pyroclasm would be really good in this format too. Actually, there were a lot of tutus, like the entire what were they? Battle mages from Planeship
Are
that
they
we
all?
saw
They're all 2/2s for 4, aren't they?
for 3. Yeah,
Oh, for 3. Okay.
so they're all gray ogres. So yeah.
Uh, I like this whole cycle too. I think it's great. Board wipes for red, and you get additional value with it. So I like it.
Yeah, I think Bloodfire Colossus has been reprinted a few times too, so
In
that
like
card's
4
good to
sets.
come back. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Next we have, this is a cool cycle. We have Coalition Flag, Standard Bearer, and Coalition Honor Guard. So Coalition Flag is 1-mana aura, and it can only enchant a creature you control. It makes the creature's creature type Flag Bearer, and then if an opponent plays a spell or ability that could target a Flag Bearer in play, they have to choose at least one Flag Bearer as a target. Standard Bearer is a 2-mana 1/1 with that same ability, and then Coalition Honor Guard is a 4-mana 2/4 with that ability. So what did you think about the Flag Bearer ability?
I thought it was pretty cool, I guess. I don't know what else to say about it.
It's similar
It
to Taunt in Hearthstone. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and it is just kind of like indicative of that as like taunting, basically, in
Yeah, it
general.
is. You're drawing the attention away, so I kind of like it. Something about it seems clunky, maybe. It's almost
Yeah,
like
I
I
think
wish they could have keyworded it.
yeah, I think their execution's a little off on it, but like what they had in mind with it is cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
What were you gonna say?
no, not much, I guess. It's a cool limited mechanic too. Coalition Honor Guard in particular avoids a lot of the removal that can only deal with creatures with power like 2 or less, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. If you're playing against any sort of red burn strategy, that could be a real lockdown card, couldn't it?
Yeah, I like
Cool.
it.
Very cool. Next, we've got, well, you're going to have to explain this cycle. We've got Enlistment Officer, Goblin Ringleader, Grave Defiler, Title Courier, and Sylvan Messenger. Oh, I see it. Okay. Go ahead. You can explain this cycle.
All right, these are all creatures with one ability, and then they all share an ability that is when this creature comes into play, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Put all creatures that have the same creature type as it, basically, into are revealed this way into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library. So Enlistment Officer looks for soldiers that way, and it has first strike, and it's a 2/3 for 4 mana. Goblin Ringleader is a 2/2 haste for 4 mana that looks for goblins. Grave Defiler is a 4 mana 2/1 regen for 2, a black and a colorless. Sorry. 2 total mana, a black and a colorless, and he looks for zombies. And then Tidal Courier is a 1/2 for 4 that looks for merfolk and can fly for the low cost of 3 colorless, 1 blue.
Yeah, that makes more
And
sense.
yeah, Sylvan Messenger is a 2/2 trample that reveals all, or puts all elves revealed that way into your hand and the rest on the bottom.
So why does the Tidal Courier fly in the first place?
Um, Merfolk are actually one of the weirder creature types when it comes to that. They're typically known to be able to fly in the older sets.
Hmm.
Um, they have Manta Riders and I think Vidalian Knights from Fallen Empires. And they just are, I don't know why they did it, but I think it was kind of I, I guess I don't know why, because Vidalian Knights is shown like riding a giant hippocampus, and uh, the Manta Riders are clearly riding mantas. So,
Maybe it's the
but
riding the tide, like the tide's getting very high or something.
yeah, it could be that, or riding a wave,
Yeah, that would
making
have
a
actually made more
wave.
sense. Not a tide, so I don't get it. That is weird.
But yeah, I mean, unblockable just straight up would have been way more
Yeah, for
appropriate.
that cost, definitely.
Yeah,
The Ringleader
and
actually sees legacy play, so
yeah, it's very strong
yeah,
in a goblin deck.
definitely.
And
It's the haste I think that makes it because you get the what's the 2 drop pile drivers. The pile drivers really,
oh yeah, yeah, then it goes with that.
yeah,
Um, Grave Defiler would have been a cool one to see again in Innistrad block.
yeah.
That
Ooh.
would have been really sweet.
Yeah, I love you know how I feel about zombies, and zombies, they must have more lords
There.
than any other creature type. I always feel like they have so many. You know, Cemetery Reaper, Lord of the Undead, Death Baron, Undead War Chief, um, Zombie Master. There's just a lot of them. So it'd be a lot of cool cards to find with Grave Defiler, I thought.
Yeah,
Soulless one. Um, anyway, this is kind of a cool cycle. I like this style of card. They've done this a few times. They do it with artifacts on some creatures too, in like Shards block.
Mhm.
Um, but overall, this is a cool cycle. I'm into it. Did you have a personal preference on any of these?
Um, I guess I think I liked Sylvan Messenger when it was around the most, but obviously Goblin Ringleader is the most playable.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is kind of a confusing slide. I apologize for that, but we've got double cards here. So this is pre um, fuse. And in this instance, you could only choose one half of the card that you wanted to play. So we've got Order and Chaos, which is Order is 4 mana, exile an attacking creature from the game, and then Chaos is 3 mana. Creatures can't block this turn, so it's white and red. Fire and Ice. Fire is 1 and a red, deal 2 damage however you choose amongst players or creatures. And then Ice is 1 and a blue, tap a permanent, draw a card. That one is just insane.
Hmm.
You've got Night and Day. Night is black. For 1 black, target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn, and then Day, 2 and a white. Creatures target player controls get +1/+1. That one's cool too. Illusion and Reality. Illusion is 1 blue. Target spell or permanent becomes the color of your choice until end of turn, and then 2 and a green on Reality to destroy an artifact. That's probably the weakest one. And then we have Life
Yeah.
or
Oh,
Death.
hands down.
Yeah. Finally, we have Life and Death. 1 green. Sorcery. Till end of turn, all lands you control are 1/1 creatures that are still lands, and then Death 1 and a black. Return target creature from card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and you lose life equal to its converted mana cost. So that one's 2 mana res spell is like what? That is pretty crazy. So uh, Fire and Ice definitely is in cube, or no, not even. Fire and Ice. I want to say LSV's playing it in Vintage, but as like a one of. I really want to say that he's playing Fire and Ice.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that it has cycling basically, on
Yeah,
half of it, it's pretty sweet.
just a really cool, interesting early cycle that we get to see of the double-sided cards. These were these kind of confusing to players early on?
I don't think so. I think everyone actually grasped this concept really easily. There's not really a ton of things to be mistaken about other than the fact that when it's in your library or whatever, if you let's say it's like reveal the top card of your library, gain life equal to its converted mana cost. So you gain life equal to both halves of its converted mana cost.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to reveal a split card. But then when it's on the stack or whatever, it's only one of the cards.
I see.
So
Okay.
you don't
Yep.
you
So,
can't even see the
it,
other half.
yeah, yeah. Did you have like a personal preference on which one of these you liked the most?
You know, I think that Fire and Ice is really great. I've always had a soft spot for Life and Death
Yeah.
and Order and Chaos both.
Yeah.
I,
I think you and I won a draft, I want to say, with Chaos. Order
yeah,
Chaos, because just
I think
Chaos is
that
like, oh, your guys can't block, so we win.
Order Chaos has the most
Limited upside.
well, I was gonna say I think it has the best kind of like role reversal. You know what I mean?
Kill an attacker or get by your blockers.
Yeah.
That is
Um,
true. That is very good.
Night and Day has it's good, but it's not like exactly the opposite of each other, so it's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Life and Death doesn't really, you know what I mean? Like that's not that to me isn't what that card should have been, I guess.
Because they don't really interact at all.
Yeah, that's not like and that's why Illusion Reality is such a awful fail too. Is
Yeah.
it's just like, you know, I
They
think
just
that
don't relate. Yeah.
and I do think that destroy target artifact is not the way to go with reality. Like that should be destroy target enchantment.
Yeah. Green has been known to take out some artifacts, though.
Yeah, but it's not that I don't believe that green should be able to do it or something like that. It's that the name doesn't really make me think destroy an artifact.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Um, Reality to you would be like getting rid of a magic aura or something like that. Okay.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I could see that. So yeah, Death seems like a super powerful card. That even with like a Gristlebrand on turn 2,
Yeah,
even if you lose, what, you lose 8, then you pay 7, or you lose 7? He costs 8, doesn't he? I
I
think
think he
Gristlebrand
got
costs
paid
8, but
because
I
he's
think
a
you'd
seven.
lose 8, and then you could still pay another 7 and draw 7 cards, so that is pretty filthy. Um,
Yeah,
these are cool. I can't look at them anymore, though, because they're all sideways. Blowing my mind. All right. Finally, we've got what? Gaia's Skyfolk, Goblin Legionnaire, Llanowar Dead, Razorfin Hunter, and Putrid Warrior. These are all enemy color 2-drops. Gaia's Skyfolk is green and a blue 2/2 with flying. Goblin Legionnaire is a white and a red 2/2 with 2 activated abilities. A red, sacrifice it, deal 2 damage to a creature or player. A white, sacrifice it, prevent 2 damage to a creature or player. And then Llanowar Dead is a black and a green 2/2 that taps to add a black mana to your mana pool. Razorfin Hunter is a blue and a red 1/1, and it taps to deal a damage to a creature or player. And Putrid Warrior is a white and a black 2/2, and when it deals damage, you can choose one. Each player loses 1 life, or each player gains 1 life. I think Razorfin Hunter is my personal favorite. It's just awesome effect. I love the tap to deal damage creatures, don't you?
yeah, that one's so cheap. It
I,
is the odd man out because it doesn't have 2 toughness, but I think for obvious reasons, you know, that card
yeah,
would be ridiculous as a 2/2.
yeah, they didn't want to make that a bear. Or even a 1/2. So they were well aware that it was undercosted to get that style of effect.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I remember playing Cunning Spark Mage with like Basilisk Collar back in the day, back in the World Wake in Standard days, and that was always a good time. So I love the tap. The tap to deal damage creatures, always classic. Originally in blue for reasons unknown. They were just exploring color pie, and for some reason thought counterspells as well as creatures that could tap and deal damage was somehow reasonable, but they eventually opted out of that, and now red is pretty much strictly the color that gets the tap to deal damage, as it should. Makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. Anything you want to say about this cycle?
Not really. I always had a soft spot for guys, Skyfolk. Um, personally, I
It's an
always thought
efficient
Lana War
flyer.
Dead was a little odd.
Which one was a little out? I'm sorry.
Lana War Dead.
Oh, because it adds black.
Yeah, just it just seemed odd. Like why does it do that? I don't know. Like I feel like adding both colors would have been a lot more appropriate.
Yeah, maybe they thought that was too good with the double ramp. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, I mean they've done it before, so just not on a common, I suppose. But
this is a cool cycle. Regardless, they're all useful enough to justify the enemy colors. I don't have a personal issue with any of them. Putrid Warrior, I guess, is a bit narrow, but it's still playable. It's in a creature
yeah,
type that I like, so I can get
yeah,
behind
it's
it.
cool that it can attack as a 3/2.
Yeah, you wish it could. That's true. Um, what do we got next? The Penumbra cycle. This is a very cool cycle. So we have Penumbra Bobcat, 2 and a green, 2/1 cat. When it dies, put a 2/1 black cat into play. Then you have the Penumbra Kavu for 5 mana, 3/3, and when it dies, you get a 3/3 black Kavu creature. Then Penumbra Worm, 7 mana, 6/6 trampler, and when it dies, you get a 6/6 black worm creature. So, these cards are great. What an excellent value on these, don't you think?
Oh, for sure. I was just thinking about it today, actually. Penumbra Worm is really, really good.
Yeah, it's got trample.
I know.
It's awesome,
And
and it
token.
gives a trample worm.
Yeah.
It's
I
really
think that
good.
I think that Penumbra Cavu could have been a little better, but I don't know how. I don't think that giving it trample would have been appropriate, but there's got to be an ability that would if it green had intimidate at this time, that would have been a sweet one for that.
Yeah,
Because
that's
then
true.
becoming a 3/3 black intimidate Cavu after dying is pretty sweet.
Yeah, that'd have been cool with the Bobcat too. If you like ended up getting a 2/1 black first striking cat when it died or something.
Yeah.
Um, just giving it ability when it died, that would
Hmm.
be cool. So you have to work for it a little bit, but
Yeah, that would be cool.
they're a lot of value already. I do like them. Very good cards. Very cool cycle. Do we ever see Penumbra again, or was this pretty much the extent of it?
I think this was it. No, they did Penumbra Spider, I think,
Oh, that
in
sounds
Time
right, but I can't
Spiral.
recall when.
It was Time Spiral?
All right, cool. We'll
Yeah.
get. You're probably going to be seeing these cards again soon then. Next, we have the Phyrexian cycle. These are cool. Phyrexian Arena still sees cube play. 1 and 2 black. It's in cube right now actually. 1 and 2 black enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card and lose a life. Phyrexian Gargantua is a 6 mana 4/4, and when it comes in, you draw 2 and lose 2 life. And then Phyrexian Rager, which is 2 and a black 2/2. When it comes in, draw a card and lose a life. So definitely a cycle. They all have very similar abilities. Um, did I'm actually a big fan of the Rager in limited. I've always had a soft spot for him. He plays well.
He really does play well.
I don't know why he does play so well since he's Gray Ogre mostly, but just cantrip, man. All it takes is a cantrip.
Hmm.
Makes it so much better. I never
It's
played the
true.
Gargantua, did you?
Yeah, that's very good.
I like it. It's got the sign and blood on it, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's good too. And then, of course, not too much to say about Phyrexian Arena. It's very strong. Very strong card. So it must have seen plenty of constructed play in its time because it's made it all the way to cube nowadays. So
Yeah. Well, and it gets reprinted in core sets sometimes.
occasionally, yeah, you're right. And it probably sees constructed play then too. Very powerful card. I like it. Next, we have a Whirlpool cycle. So we have Whirlpool Drake, 4 mana 2/2 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, shuffle the cards from your hand into your library, then draw that many cards. And when it dies, you shuffle the cards from your hand into your library, then draw that many cards. Interesting. I don't remember that card. Whirlpool Rider is 2 mana 1/1 with the same ability. Just the first part of that, rather. So when it enters, shuffle the cards from your hand to your library, draw that many. And then Whirlpool Warrior, 3 mana 2/2. When it enters, shuffle the cards from your hand to your library, draw that many. And then it also has red sacrifice and each player shuffles the cards from his or her hand into his or her library, then draws that many cards. So definitely a cycle. Do you want to make any comment on this effect?
Um, Not really. I mean, this was originally a red ability, I guess, is all there's really to say about it. And they still put it in red. So it's interesting that they did this.
Yeah, it really is. I'm not exactly sure why they did. I'd like to play it, sort of get a better feel for how it plays. Do you feel like Whirlpool Warrior needed to be rare, by the way?
Not really, especially at 3 mana. Um, but these actually play really fun. They're really fun to play unlimited, you know.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, if you get the Whirlpool Rider in particular. Wait, which one? Okay, I see why Whirlpool Warrior's rare now. I understand because it can affect each player while the other ones only
Oh,
affect you,
yeah, yeah.
essentially. It would have been cool if Whirlpool Drake was enters the battlefield, you do it, dies, your opponent does it, or something, you know?
Yeah, I think I like it the way that it is, but you're right. It would have been cool if you only had to do it once,
Yeah, it's kind
since
of
the
crazy,
dice
actually.
trigger is like unique to it, you know.
Yeah, so this is definitely a weird cycle. I wasn't even, I hardly remembered these, except the Whirlpool Warrior. Definitely the picture on it looks familiar. Um, but I don't know how to feel about that mechanic. I guess I'd have to play it more to sort of understand.
Rider
Uh,
is really good. I remember that. I remember really liking to play that card.
Yeah, like I feel like if you're on sort of a stagnated board, you don't need any more resources. It's kind of nice to just hold on to a few lands and then, you know, two or
Yeah.
three turns later, play one of these and just reset basically.
Hmm.
It's kind of cool. So it's like potential for multiple looter effects, but depends. Um,
Yeah.
Got Weird Harvest next. All right, Weird Harvest. So this is the segment of the show where we talk about a strange card from the past. And we're specifically referring to the name and picture of the card. And, well, we're in Apocalypse, so why not choose an Apocalypse card, which we did. Unnatural Selections. This is a 1 and a blue enchantment for, and then you pay 1 and choose a creature type other than wall. Target creature's type becomes that type until end of turn. And this was a rare, much to people who opened a pack with Unnatural Selections chagrin, um, since it's a very weak rare. But I recommend taking a look at the picture on Unnatural Selection because it is pretty ridiculous. How would you describe this, Jake?
Well, I would say that it's an octopus who's becoming a kavu. Uh, but I guess I don't know. How would you describe it?
Oh, well, I think you made a good point with the Kavu. For some reason, I saw it as like a dragon head with like, but you're right. You see the octopus like little suckers. So it is definitely octopus, and I think you're right. It's turning into a Kavu. So pretty unnatural to say the least. It's got like, is it have the Kavu hooves too? Is that what that is?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure those are kavu feet, and that's definitely the kavu head. I think more so than it is supposed to be a dragon.
No, I think you're right. I think now that I saw that penumbra Kavu, that just seems right. So unnatural selection, kind of a funny because unnatural selection doesn't mean anything. You know, natural selection
Right.
is actually something, and a natural selection is actually a magic card too, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it's nothing like this.
Yeah, but that's still interesting. They have
Yeah.
very similar, but unnatural selection, not a real thing, but very indicative from the picture. I would have Kev Walker must have had a real doozy of a time making this one.
I really like the art actually on this one. I think it's pretty sweet. I actually use this card in Commander as a means to board wipe my opponents for, or at least kill creatures for 1 mana apiece. If you play the card, and we don't have it up or anything, but uh, Spirit Mirror, it has the ability for 0 to destroy target reflection.
And so you just make them a reflection creature. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that it says other than wall. This was at a time when walls had to have basically wall creatures had defender, but they didn't defender didn't exist yet.
Yeah. So all walls just got reminder text that said walls can't attack, which could have just as easily been like solved by having defender as a keyword, you know.
Yeah, so now if you were to make a creature's creature type a wall, they would still be able to attack, is that right?
Yeah. They would be.
Okay.
Now all walls like retroactively have gotten defender as an ability. So
Oh, I see. Okay. That was their fix for it. That's cool. All right, we went a little bit long today, but um, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Hope you had fun with the Ghostbusters. That was a lot of fun for us to make them. Yeah, I'm sure you had a lot of fun with it too, right, Jake? I mean,
yeah, I did. It was cool.
I love that movie too. It's so good.
It is
So
very good.
check out seemsgoodmagic.com. Check out travelersofstoria.com. Watch for updates. T-minus 2 days, and I'm going to be doing some Cons of Tarkir drafting, so tune into that. All right, thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.